We as a society never chose this. All of these apps were marketed to us as like, stay in touch with your friends, share photos with your pals, and then news and information snuck into them. And then we all kind of like got addicted to it. We all knew that it was bad. We all know that we hate it. And I think
hey,
that
kid,
like
I got some candy in my van. That's what it was.
Yeah.
First one's free.
It is a lot of that.
On Wednesday night, President Biden used his farewell address to highlight his concerns for the fate of the nation, among them the rise of an oligarchy of the ultra-wealthy, which, though unnamed, includes surely tech CEOs Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk, the three richest people in the world, who will be sitting again with the TikTok CEO right behind Trump, along with the members of Congress, the presidents, the ex-presidents. They're all going to be there.
Our fifth branch of government.
Yep. And echoing Eisenhower, President Biden dubbed the rising threats of misinformation, AI, and the decline of the free press as the, quote, tech industrial complex. Let's listen to a clip.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy.
Joe Biden's farewell address will be on the offline feed as a special episode. So we haven't talked about, like, what was your reaction when you heard that? I'm like, wow, Joe Biden leans hard into an offline topic in his farewell address. I was pleasantly surprised.
I have always thought that, I don't love everything about Joe Biden. I don't love everything he did, but I always thought at his best, he believed in the importance of institutions and understood the severity and the urgency of the threat to them. And I think when he came into office, that was primarily our democratic institutions, our courts, our, legislative process, our electoral process. And I am surprised and impressed that someone of his, let's say, advanced age is as acutely aware as he seems to be based on this speech of how much that threat has shifted to our information environments, not just how we get news, but that manipulates our behavior. It manipulates how our brains work. And it made me curious who on his staff, honestly, is writing this, which is not to say I don't think he believes it, but, clearly that he's got some team behind him who is invested in this. And it makes me hopeful that those people are going to continue to be involved in this fight.
I think they spent a lot of time thinking through AI. Not in a way that has pleased the AI industry,
which is a sign that it's working, right? A sign that that these are pretty good policies.
I think they might have stumbled into this. This is my theory on this. They are very, Biden especially, and the people who've been around him the longest, very upset by the press he gets. They think everything is unfair.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and I think that they have. There's a little like
TikTok made the kids woke.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's not just TikTok, but like social.
Sure.
Like the he made reference to the fact checkers. Yeah. Because he's Joe Biden's in the world where
the facts are all on his side.
Yeah, Glenn Klessler's at the Washington Post, and he's given 4 Pinocchios for something. Half of you don't know what I'm talking about. If so, good for you.
Is he still out there?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I actually don't know.
I used to sit next to him. He's a lovely guy.
But people used to, care about fact checks, and that was in Joe Biden's politics, right?
That's true.
And so, and he's talking all these interviews about the editors are. He said in the farewell address, the editors are gone. Something we talk about also. But like the gatekeepers are gone, and I think it's acute for them because they feel. Look, every White House feels besieged. We felt besieged in there. You're in a foxhole,
of course.
But I think they feel particularly so, and are a little bitter as they leave.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the reasons. I think that in combination with, I do think Jeff Zients, the White House Chief of Staff, spent a lot of time thinking about AI, and so has the government.
That makes sense. I could see those two things coming together. And look, wrong path to the right destination is still the right destination.
For sure.
I am glad that you brought up the AI policies. Frankly, I had forgotten how much time they spent on that. And again, we're going to talk about this, but the severity of the backlash from Silicon Valley to these rules, I think, shows that they were real guardrails that got created in recent history. When's the last time that happened, that guardrails weren't just protected but created?
Well, this is a perfect... I want to talk about this because you suggested listening to a podcast this week.
Which I do begrudgingly.
Barry Weiss's podcast. Particularly the episode where she interviews Mark Andreessen.
Yeah. It's
who's one of Silicon Valley's most influential investors. He voted for and supported Democrats for a long time.
Yeah.
And sort of had this, much like others in Silicon Valley,
right.
This sort of awakening where now he's like a big Trump supporter.
Yep.
And Barry Weiss sits down with him and asks him about all this. I listened to the whole thing.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow. I only listened to clips of it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Yeah.
First of all, it's going to feel weird to say, Barry Weiss does a good job interviewing. Don't agree with...
Okay.
She does a very... Like, I know... I'm very familiar with Barry Weiss's views.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I get
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
But she does a pretty...
Okay.
He lays out
Yeah.
this view
I know.
of Washington and the Democratic Party and politics that it's odd because, like, I found myself not disagreeing with a lot of what he said.
Really?
I found myself disagreeing with the reality he constructed.
Oh, I see.
I was like, what you are saying would be crazy if it were true, right?
Yeah.
But I think he has confused, and I'm now concerned that Zuckerberg and all the rest of them have confused the rantings and ravings of some folks on the left or in the resistance or whatever else on social media with like how Democratic politicians, policymakers, other people think.
Right.
And I think it's back to social media. Like, I think it's now
It's definitely some social media
created
brain.
some schism.
Yeah.
That's like just why. But the way the Andreessen was talking was like that the Biden administration was the most anti-tech administration in history ever. That with AI, they basically said, they brought them all into the White House and said, we're going to be a couple big AI companies. The government's going to fully control them. There's going to be no startups allowed. It's going to be just like during the Cold War with the Manhattan Project, literally compared to the Manhattan Project, and like people not being able to like do nuclear weapon startups.
Right.
And they just want full control over it. And because they have full control over it, then they're going to make it woke. And they're going to like start erasing history, and all the thought police shit's going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. And then also they hate tech because he has staffers in his administration that they just hate capitalism, and they hate rich people, and they say it openly that they hate capitalism and hate rich people and hate people making money. And I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And it's weird too because he was like, and it's so different than the people in the Obama administration and blah 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 and the Clinton administration. And I'm like, I was in the Obama administration. I don't look at the Biden administration and think that they're that much different.
So let me. Yes, I agree with all that. Let me sum up like what he said, because this has been presented both by him and kind of like by his cohort as his big manifesto for why his segment of the tech industry embraced Trump. And like Mark Andreessen, it's like he's not a guy we've talked about a lot. I think he will probably come up a lot this year. He's a very powerful guy in Silicon Valley. He's one of the money guys.
Founder of
very
Netscape,
influential.
Made a ton of money.
Made a ton of money on Netscape. His real role has been as a venture capitalist where he funds a bunch of startups. This is why he's so concerned about, are they going to allow startups in AI? He's a fucking bad news. He and his partner at Andreessen Horowitz, his VC firm, I write about them a bunch in the book. Like they've really like presage a lot of the turn toward bad stuff in Silicon Valley. We'll get into that later. So his big manifesto had like two big pillars to it for why they turned right. One of which I think is like not the real reason, and the other one, which I think is the one that is, I think, not the real reason, is like cultural grievances. He refers to it as the deal. We used to have the deal where you left us alone. We invented cool, amazing stuff. And then, by the way, we donated all of those profits to philanthropy because we're amazing guys. And then you left us alone, and you also celebrated us culturally. And now you yell at us. And I got called bad names on the internet. And you called me.
Do you think that Max is just like exaggerating
No,
this? Listen to him talking about Barry Weiss. He basically lays this out too hard.
This is not. I will express my views on what he is saying, but this is what he is saying. He said that the Democrats blame Silicon Valley for letting Russian hackers engineer Trump's election. That never happened.
In fact, at some point, he was like, they think that there's no way Trump could have won were it not for Putin and Russia.
That's
it
not
was
true.
like, who is
no one has ever said that.
Yeah. random resistance person on Twitter, right, with the Ukrainian flag in the bio. Yeah, maybe, but like not a lot of real people.
He also claimed on
Sorry,
Ross,
not a lot of powerful people.
I agree. He claimed on Ross Douthat's podcast, quote, "The federal government radicalized hard under Hillary Clinton," and Ross Douthat said, "Wait, don't you mean Donald Trump?" And he said, no, Hillary Clinton was in charge of the federal government while Donald Trump was president. So it's just wackadoo shit. So I think all of this culture war grievance stuff used to celebrate us, and now you're mean to us, so we had no choice but to turn fascist. I think that's just like he's saying that because it feels good to like blame his critics and being like, actually, you're the ones who are humiliated now. I think the real reason is it's 100% regulatory. The Democrats tried to regulate us, and I don't think it's actually so much a change in the attitude from Democrats or the White House. I think it's a change in Silicon Valley, where the Silicon Valley business model over the last few years, not for all of it, but for the segment that Mark Andreessen represents, is increasingly built on illegality. It's built on anti-competitive behavior, buying up your competitors, monopolistic behavior, illegally mining user data, child user data, especially crypto, which is an illegal, unregulated security that Mark Andreessen is just very effective at manipulating the market for money.
I also learned about this. They're very upset about this. They think debanking, right, which is
totally made up. Mark Andreessen made up. It's straight up disinformation.
I was listening to that. I'm like, but
started.
you listen to it and you're like, what is he talking about?
It's not a real thing.
In his telling,
right.
The Biden administration has gone around to people who are supportive of crypto and some other people that they don't like. I guess he said that some people in the first Trump administration say this happened to them, and just debanked them, which is meaning that like you can't open a bank account, you have to have all your money in cash because the government says that the banks won't let you even have an account. You can't do banking anymore, and it ruins your life. It's like I'm like, that sounds pretty scary. Is that maybe it is? I don't know.
No, it is so much not happening that Mark Andreessen himself specifically later acknowledged, oops, I got that wrong. That is not a thing that is happening.
He said it again on Barry Royce's podcast. He did the whole thing on the debanking.
Did he really?
He wants investigations when Trump gets into power.
It's 100% a thing that they made up. And the reason that they made it up, of course, is to turn, it's the same thing with all of this like Zuckerberg stuff, turn the regulators into the villains in the eyes of MAGA culture war, so that when the regulators say, hey, these tech companies are exploiting people, they're hurting people, they're taking your money through these illegal crypto gambling schemes, they can say, whoa, more regulator woke culture war, they're trying to silence your free speech and try to get the like MAGA cause to shut that down. So it's just, I think it is literally just comes down to all the culture war stuff. I think is smokescreen and noise. It comes down to the Democrats are going to enforce the laws that we increasingly want to make our money by breaking, and Trump is saying he won't enforce those laws if we bribe him, which we are more than happy to do.
Offline is brought to you by OneSkin. January is all about fresh starts, and it's a great time to swap out the skincare products weighing your skin down in favor of a regimen scientifically proven to transform your skin to the cellular level, something today's sponsor OneSkin knows all about. Their products are powered by OS1, a proprietary peptide the four founders, who are all skin longevity scientists, developed after testing 900 other peptides, and it's scientifically proven to switch off the aging, dysfunctional cells that cause lines, wrinkles, and thinning skin. Not only that, OneSkin's products are packed with all kinds of nourishing ingredients to naturally boost collagen, reduce inflammation, and protect skin from environmental stressors while being free of unnecessary irritants like sulfates and fragrance. Ready to detox your routine, improve your skin health, and look your best? Head over to oneskin.co and use code OFFLINE at checkout for an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Make 2025 the year you invest in habits that keep you and your skin healthier at the cellular level. Some of you might have heard me say before, I don't have a skin routine. I barely wash my face, but I've been using OneSkin, and boy, it's nice to have it's nice to be have a face care routine. You know,
John, we're gonna get you.
I'm old now.
Yeah, we're
it's
old
important.
now. And listen, I'm younger than you because I'm gay, but but it only can do so much. We're gonna get you. You gotta get cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta use a peptide.
Yep.
Like OS1.
But I don't have to test all 900 because OneSkin already did.
They already did the work for you. We're going to get you a vitamin C serum and a moisturizer and with a sunscreen in it, and then we're golden.
That sounds like a lot of time. I don't know if I have that much time.
You may take it part of your ritual.
Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code OFFLINE at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code OFFLINE. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Offline is brought to you by Via. Did the holiday season mess with your routine? Are you participating in Dry January? Looking to take charge of your life with full mental clarity this new year? Enhance your sober January and embrace CBD Awareness Month. Oh, happy CBD Awareness Month with Via to experience the powerful benefits of hemp without the high.
Hemp.
Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is the Swiss Army knife of wellness, dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Via's collection of THC-free products combines minor cannabinoids like CBD, CBG, and CBN with botanical supplements for targeted effects you can actually feel. Whether you're looking to improve your sleep, focus, or relief, Via has something for you. Via is also well-renowned for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies and vapes, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required.
You love CBD.
I love CBD. I love Via. Via's great. I love their CBD products. I love their THC and THC-free gummies, but mostly the THC ones. They're great. Via's a it helps you sleep. It calms you down. It's great. If you're 21 plus, go to via.co/offline. That's VIIA.co/offline and use the code offline to receive 15% off. And if you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice. That's VIIA.co/offline. Use code offline. After you purchase, they ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Again, VIIA.co/offline. Use code offline. This year, enhance your everyday with Via. I thought another riff he went on in the podcast that was probably the most chilling to me and also like explains a lot is he at one point says, he goes, look, there is no such thing as democracy. It's oligarchy. They're all oligarchies.
Jesus.
And he said
I didn't hear this.
Throughout history, yeah. And he was like, what it really is every society, even the ones that call themselves democracy and call themselves representative democracy, is governed by an elite. And that elite is an oligarchy. And really, every change of government and everything else is just one group of elites swapped out for another group of elites.
I know exactly where he's getting this.
And he's like, and now the United States for the last however many years now has been governed by this liberal cultural elite. These are the people that broke the deal for him. And now they're all woke and thought police, and they cannot be trusted to usher in artificial intelligence because there's danger if they use their thought police cancellation shit on that. And what he's got a whole thing. But it really is, and the elite that's come in here, he believes that because he and others in Silicon Valley build new things and innovate, this is his techno-optimist thing. Right. They do good things. They should be in charge. And everyone else who's in charge are just like government bureaucrats and people who are political and community, and they don't have like real talent. The real talent is the building of the technology. And those are the people who should be in charge.
It's a very specific worldview that starts with Peter Thiel, who is another big tech investor, Silicon Valley guy, who got Mark Zuckerberg his start at Facebook, the first big investment to Facebook, that it traces back to the specific series of podcasts about like Roman history, which is how they get to this idea that elites should rule. It's this like very specific media ecosystem. I'm sure that we will talk about it at some point. One other, I think, like really important data point for understanding the segment of the tech world that has embraced MAGAism is, I know you guys talked on PSA about the Zuckerberg like MAGA stuff, like going on Rogan. You guys had all of it, all the big like moderation policy changes that are meant to appease Trump, and all like going on Rogan and talk about masculinity. One piece of that I think is actually really telling for understanding where we are going with this is specifically the way that he MAGAfied his own workplace, and not like getting rid of DEI, no more diversity in hiring, workplace protections. And something that really jumped out to me specifically is he's made a big point of saying we took the tampons out of what Meta refers to as their men's rooms, which is just these policies are designed, and the fact that they are broadcasting them, are designed to deliberately hurt Meta's own employees as a way to demonstrate allegiance to the MAGA culture war. And the reason that I want to highlight this, Zuckerberg is willing to target his own employees, the people who build his products, who we need to make his companies profitable, the people he passes in the hallway, and is hurting them because he thinks it will score him points with MAGA world. So what do you think he's going to do to the billions of people who use his products?
And then when asked about it and asked about his history as someone who okayed that,
Yeah.
he blamed it on Sheryl Sandberg.
Incredible. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Yes, yeah. His longtime number two, who left a couple years ago and is now
blamed it all on Sheryl.
Yep.
Right under the bus.
I know. Look, it's not like Mark has any power at Facebook. He's just the little guy. He's just Sheryl Sandberg's intern, and he was saying, I don't know about all this when Sheryl Sandberg was doing all this stuff.
I mean, do you think that the workforce is going to do anything here in Silicon Valley? Because, I mean, and Andreessen says this too. He's like, look, as much as we feel like we've won here, it's still 90-10, donations to Democrats, the workforce.
And that's true. Yes.
And I think that is true. And
Yes.
I wonder what happens with a lot of these employees. Because there's a lot of people at Meta, even people I know at Meta, who are like, fuck this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been talking to people who have been talking about, like, they're outraged. They log on to their, like, workplace discussion platform, and it's just like a waterfall of outraged comments, which of course Meta is just systematically deleting because they believe in free speech so much that you're not allowed to criticize your own employer,
Just like the
privately.
CCP.
Honestly, they have a couple things in common. Yeah. I mean, look, it is important to remember that Andreessen, Zuckerberg, they don't represent the bulk of Silicon Valley. Most people there are liberal. They are democratic. The workers there have shown the power previously to influence their company's behavior. Like the last big time this happened, maybe one of the only big times, was in 2020 when Zuckerberg was implementing all these policies that were very favorable to Trump and basically saying it's fine if Trump wants to tell the police to shoot protesters en masse. And a bunch of the employees like really made a big stink about that internally. Some of them quit and made a big show about that and were like talking about things the company did, which is not cheap because it means giving up this huge payout that they give people when they leave to sign an NDA. And it really did push them in a better direction in the next few months over the course of the 2020 election. So I hope that it happens. It's very hard for Silicon Valley workers to come together because there are so many of them.
Yeah.
They're very spread out. They don't have like a union or any other kind of like mechanism for them to collectively coordinate to pressure their employer, which is why the threshold is so high for it. But it is a thing that can happen. And I do hope that the folks who are listening to this in Silicon Valley, I mean, first of all, know that like, I understand that you don't go along with this and that you don't agree with this. And like, I hope that you remember that you have some power here.
And I also hope that the people in Silicon Valley who do have a lot of power and who other founders, other VCs, other tech people who like could speak up, who are leaders in the tech industry who don't agree with this. Because I think those people could make a real difference too.
Yeah.
Because they are heard, they have big platforms,
Right.
and they, in theory, should not be as cowed because they're, wealthy.
Although if you're launching, it's hard because if you ever want to launch a startup, you need money from the venture capitalists, the funding guys. Those are the most pro-MAGA guys.
Right. Let's talk about where we go from here as a couple of social media addicts facing down another 4 years of Trump and his new alliance with all of these men who built these platforms. I will say that I've given some serious thought over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, me too.
Especially as to whether social media, all social media, not just Twitter, as we always talk about, is useful or beneficial enough any longer to justify staying on it anymore.
Yeah.
And useful enough to me, to my job. And I don't know. I think to me as like an LA resident too, I think the response to the fires on social media, that sort of did it for me.
I think it woke a lot of people up to like social media is really bad. It's really bad.
It was bad during, it's bad in the aftermath. And when I say bad, it's misinformation. It's also just like when a crisis happens, what do you need? You need people to be able to get good information, to be able to respond collectively, to help each other out. And look, I should say that you look on Instagram and you find out about places to donate, places to volunteer, people who are helping people. So there is value there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And
there's always been something.
We've talked about the Watch Duty app, right?
Yeah.
Which has been telling LA residents where the fires are, evacuation, like better
Really
than the
useful.
government has.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like all of that stuff's useful. But I think that the fact that we have the way that we communicate now is on these platforms where in moments of crisis or when a disaster strikes, the first thing we get now is anger,
Rage
fear,
bait. Yeah.
rage bait, misinformation, smugness,
Yeah.
performative weirdness.
Yep.
And also there's just like there's something about you're in this crisis, you see a post where someone just lost their home, and then you see a post of like someone in Barbados smiling on vacation.
Yeah.
And then you get an ad for something just ridiculous.
Sure.
And then you have a piece of misinformation, and then there's a sports score. It's just like this the way that information comes at us now.
Right.
When you
It's not
are
useful.
part of the crisis or disaster, and
right.
you're seeing sort of the rest of the world.
It forces you to confront how useless it is and
Yes.
counterproductive. The thing that kept getting me is I kept like, when we were thinking about evacuate or like planning on evacuating, I kept pulling up my phone, hoping to get the Twitter of 10 years ago, which would show
Me
me,
too.
which highways are safe to evacuate through. Like, is the 10 on fire? Is the 5 safe? Is it crowded? Is it like, what's the safe way out? Like, where are the fires? And what I instead saw was some combination of like misinformation or a lot of people like sneeringly explaining how if the government weren't so fucking stupid, it would be so easy to put out the fires because they know how to put out the fires. And like, obviously Karen Bass would do X, Y, and Z if she weren't so corrupt, and then the fires would be out like that. And it's like, that's not how that works. You're just chasing some like affirmation and rage bait. And I think I feel like I heard from a lot of people in LA, seeing all of the like condescension and smugness and misinformation on social media, like just flipped them off of it. And they were just like, this is just not a good force in our lives.
Offline is brought to you by Mosh. The older you get, the more you may find yourself wanting to be more intentional about the way you live, eat, and take care of your body. Mosh bars can help you do that. Mosh, which you may have heard about on Shark Tank, was founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission to create a conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then, she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar with 8 delicious flavors, including a plant-based one in peanut butter and chocolate. Each Mosh bar is made with ingredients that support brain health, like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. And now Mosh bars come with a new look and new formulation featuring a game-changing, brain-boosting ingredient you won't find in any other bar. Mosh is now the first and only food brand boosted with Cognizant, a premium nootropic that supplies the brain with a patented form of citicoline. But here's the best part. Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? 2/3 of all Alzheimer patients are women. Mosh is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. Mosh bars are great. We've had them in the office. They're delicious. We can't ever keep them in stock when we get them in because everyone loves them. If you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, Mosh bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/offline to save 20% off plus free shipping on the Bestsellers Trial Pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on the Bestsellers Trial Pack at moshlife.com/offline. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode. Offline is brought to you by Haya. Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat. That's why Haya created a super-powered chewable vitamin. Haya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full-body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste they love. Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you can imagine. Every single batch is third-party tested for heavy metals and microbiomes in a qualified GMP-compliant lab using scientifically validated validated testing methods, so you know the product is safe and nutritious. Charlie's been taking Hiya vitamins for a long time now, actually, a couple of years, and he loves them, and it's important to give your kids vitamins, especially when all he eats is spaghetti. Are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens and Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55-plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/off. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/off and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. I won't bring up the whole thing because we talked about it on Pod Save America, but we have this relief fund through Vote Save America.
Yeah.
We had posted it for days, no problem, and then we posted it and we quote tweeted the clip of me with Gavin Newsom and put it there, and then everyone on the right, or a lot of people on the right, a lot of people who work at right-wing outlets, not just random Twitter users,
quote-unquote journalists.
They are, they accused us of running a scam.
I know.
We're just profit. This was our moment when
How dare you raise money for fire victims?
Right, as our city's burning, we thought, and we all know people impacted, and some of us were evacuated. We're all like, this is a good time to make some money and build an email list. But anyway, someone
to be clear, neither of which happened.
Neither of which happened.
This, yeah.
No. While this was going on Twitter, and I was doing what I always do, which is now yelling on Twitter. I'm still doing it. An organizer that I've known, who he DM'd me and was like, very, very kindly, he was like, sending this with love. He said one thing he's been thinking about over the last several months is that Twitter is just, it's no longer the platform it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Threads and Instagram are going that way as well. Mm-hmm. And what he meant by no longer it was is I don't even know if it's useful for organizing, for raising money for what you guys are doing. You're trying to do this right. Good. Yeah. You're putting your clips from your podcast on there, and I don't for a while it was okay, maybe there's a little use, then it's maybe it's just net neutral, and then you're is it actually that link right? Yeah. Now we raised a lot after Saturday when that link went up. We raised most of the money in the fund, more than we had in the last several days because of the controversy, which is I guess great. But
thank you, Molly Hemingway. For
right?
your
Yeah,
efforts.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you, Eric Erickson, and all of our friends at Red State and the Free Beacon, National Review, all of our favorites. Anyway,
they're doing their part.
But I don't know that it's worthwhile anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't, and so that's for the job, right? Yeah. For politics, right. Which I think is a whole other conversation, which we should get into at some point. Right. We should have have an episode about this. But also, for personally, I'm I don't, and I've been doing a lot more Instagram because I've been trying to do less Twitter, and because I just think Twitter sucks now.
Yeah, it does.
And Instagram is becoming like this now too, because you very quickly get through your follows, new Instagrams, and now it's all suggested posts, and the suggested posts are not great.
Right. I know. I think Instagram has been pushing in this direction for a while too, and especially with the changes now where they're going to allow news again and politics, I'm sure it's going to push hard in that direction. And
I don't know. Are you going to change anything about how are you thinking about this?
Well, so I think we are all feeling this way. We have a clip from it's a lot of fun clips this week. Las Culturistas, which the lead up to this is Like Us. They were talking about the fires and how useless the apps were for it.
Okay.
It's a fucking dark day for social media when I log on and I see that people have all the fucking answers when it's you clearly don't and can't.
I think it's officially curtains.
Oh God,
for Soch.
Yeah,
TikTok ban.
Take it at this point.
Zuck being Zuck.
Please.
It's over.
Curtains for Soch.
Curtains for Soch is so funny.
I love it. We've been using my friends are all saying curtains for Soch to each other now. But is to say it's it's not just us. It's not just politics addicts who are tired of getting yelled at or whatever.
That's true.
It's everybody is feeling this way. So I had a real spiral about this week. Really feeling bad about it. This story does circle back to a happy ending, so it's not going to be a doom spiral. But here's a representative scrape of social media as I experienced it this week. Everything with the fires. TikTok, the tens of millions of views to outright misinformation on the ban. Twitter, one of the top most viral tweets I saw is a viral tweet with 3.5 million views, 60,000 interactions, claiming that Joe Rogan is a CIA op to control the population. The mainstream media is in on it. The leaders of the mainstream media led a controlled demolition of all newspapers to herd its readers from newspapers to Rogan. Millions of views, everybody agreeing with it. On Instagram, one of the biggest things that went viral this week was Ethel Cain, the pop star, pushing the hashtag, you're going to love this one, kill more CEOs.
Oh, yeah. Heard about that one.
And part of the justification for why we should all be going out and killing CEOs is that both parties are the same on climate and refuse to act because they're both equally corrupt on climate, which, as we've discussed, is just factually not correct.
About to confirm a literal oil industry CEO to be the energy secretary.
Which is, it's not just that Republicans are bad on climate, which is not new information. It's the fact that the Democrats passed this huge climate bill.
Spent the very little capital Joe Biden had
on this
on climate of all the issues.
And a lot of the people in the constituency for that literally don't know it happened because they get their news from social media apps that lie to them about climate policy because doomerism and nihilism perform better. And then that leads people like our friend Ethel Cain to think we need to start killing CEOs. I'm not even going to get into what I saw on Blue Sky because it would frankly take way too long to unpack and would not be interesting to anyone except like you and 5 other people, but it was also bad. And it really made me spiral because it started to feel to me like some critical mass of our society has just willfully chosen this and is just choosing to say, you know what, I want to be misinformed. I want to be misinformed because it's affirming, it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's better than reading the news. And that was scary to me because I spent my fucking life on the premise that it is helpful to inform people and that they want to be informed. That they want good information, that they want helpful analysis that will untangle things for them, that they want accountability journalism. And it feels scary if you just like your life's work and people are like, actually, I would rather be on the viral video app that I know misinforms me. What I realized that made me feel better is that, like, wait a minute, we know from polls that most people like actually don't like this.
Right.
They don't like being on their phones. They're not happy about it. Most people support.
And they don't want to be misinformed.
They don't, right. Well,
no,
I mean,
I do think, like, I don't think anyone goes into it being like, I love being misinformed. I think
we make choices.
But I also think that we are, again, talked about this a lot, but like, I think there is a disconnection, alienation, social alienation issue, loneliness. And we are longing for connection.
Yeah.
And this is the connection, and it's making us feel something, angry, scared, happy, joking around, whatever it may be. We're feeling something. And we are thinking that we are part of a community when we're there. And it's the illusion of a community, but an illusion of connection.
Yeah.
But that's what people, I think that's the addictive quality of it.
I think it's a lot of that. I think it's also like there are literally physically different parts of our brain that process information simultaneously. And there's a part of our brain that processes it through emotion and identity that latches onto misinformation because it makes us feel good. And sometimes we indulge that knowingly. There's a part of our brain that actually does want to understand the truth. The part of our brain that acts on emotion and identity literally operates faster. You get the hormone boost from that before the rational part of your brain even kicks in, which means when you have these apps that are shoving the identity affirming misinformation in front of you, that's what I mean by you choose it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, people are listening to this and they're probably like, okay, John told us he was going to post more as a resolution. He's tried to quit. Now he's on there. He said he's not going to get in fights.
We're all over the place.
More fights. And then I look, when I was Saturday, fighting about the Vote Save America thing, I was miserable all day Saturday.
Of course.
Miserable day.
Right.
And Emily's like, why are you so upset? And like the end of Saturday, I'm like, I told her the whole story. And I'm like, I know better. Yeah. I've talked about this. I have a show about it. Right. And I'm still doing it.
I do it all the time. We all do it all the time. It is hard not to get pulled into it. It's hard not to feel it because you open up the app and it's what everybody is doing.
Yes.
Everybody's behaving that way. So it feels like consensus. And this was also part of my feeling better is that the apps were telling me everyone is choosing misinformation. But what do I know the apps do? They present a false consensus based on the small handful of people who use the apps the most, who post on it the most. And the thing I also remembered is that we as a society never chose this. All of these apps were marketed to us as stay in touch with your friends.
Yeah.
Share photos with your pals, and then news and information snuck into them. And then we all kind of like got addicted to it. We all knew that it was bad. We all know that we hate it. And I think
Here,
that
kid,
like
I got some candy in my van. That's what it was. First one's free.
It is a lot of that. And look, a lot of us are addicted. I have a hard time not opening up, but anything that has been trained into us against our wills, and that is what the social media companies are doing, which we know they're doing it because they used to say openly, we are trying to train them users to be addicted to our platforms. You can have untrained. And in order to want to be untrained, you have to see that it is happening to you in the first place,
Yes.
and that is hard to do. And I know I make the comparison to cigarettes a lot, but the line between when we realized that cigarettes were A, addictive, and B, harmful for our health, and when we as a society started to actually reduce our rates of addiction, it took a long time. It took like 40 years. I think that we are probably on a faster timeline than that because where we are right now in regulating social media is way ahead of where we were in regulating cigarettes 10 years into understanding that cigarettes were harmful. But I'm trying to remember that just because we knew social media was bad 8 years ago when Trump was elected the first time, and now we're all even more addicted to social media, and newspapers are crumbling even more because so many people get their news on these platforms, does not mean that hope is lost, because we are all starting to understand what these platforms are doing to us, and that we don't want it, and that it's bad for us. Even if in the moment, it's really, really hard to remember that, and it's much easier to indulge it.
Well, and on the journey to like reducing smoking or getting people to, you know, who are alcoholics or addicted to drugs, like on that whole journey is a lot of people rationalizing
that's
that
true.
no, my cigarette's okay. And no, so I found some information that actually smoking is good for you. And also that I can drink and I'm fine. I can have a couple drinks. It's not a big deal. What are you talking about? Right. Like there's always resistance in your own mind when you're dealing with addictive behaviors.
And it is tricky with social platforms because something that people in Silicon Valley will point out that has some truth to it is that it's not like social platforms provide zero social utility. Cigarettes provide zero social utility other than looking cool as hell. Social media is like not exclusively bad for you. It is more bad for you than it is good. But I would not tell people delete every social media app on your phone because I wouldn't do that.
No, there's versions of social media that could work.
There's versions that work. Even at its most harmful, there are things I find useful for it as a way to like aggregate links to get good information. To answer your question, like what am I doing with my media diet is that I feel like something I learned when we did the offline challenge last year or 2 years ago, or I don't know what time is anymore, is that the hardest part of cutting down social media use is cutting down use of your phone. When you're on your phone, it's really, really hard not to open that app. So I'm spending more time physically separated from my phone. Or I just spend a few hours a day overnight. I leave it in another room, and it's been transformative. It's made like a huge difference.
I'm going to start doing that more. I know time is a flat circle, but it's okay.
I really recommend it. Just putting your phone in another space, you will find that you use it much less.